meeting, Monday, June 17th, 8 o'clock. We're here at City Hall. We're gonna forego the formalities of the normal, regular council meetings and move straight to the agenda. Beach vending resolution, number 1. Okay. This was discussed at our last meeting where we were simply going to pass a resolution to forego the way the ordinance is written, the building, I guess, physically has to be there to meet the criteria of the Upland Business being the sponsor for beach vendor. This is foregoing that. Is that the right way to say that?
Correct. For the rest of 2019, after that point, you'd either amend the ordinance formally or adopt another resolution.
All right, so, are there any questions from anybody in the room have any questions about this resolution and the amendment that it created, the amendment to it?
I have a question, please.
Sure.
This is supposed to apply to the 4 commercial properties that are on the beach. And I'm just curious as to how the city is going to make sure that the vendors stay within those confines. If there's gonna be some kind of markers, because otherwise it can just spread and then spread and then spread. So how is the city planning to mark the property so the vendor will know where to be?
If it's behind the driftwood, it'll be behind the driftwood, where the driftwood used to be. I don't think, I'm not for putting markers in the sand. I mean, I think it's just pretty obvious.
I don't think it's gonna be too much to worry about, because when school starts, not gonna be that many people on the beach to begin with.
Are there gonna be are there access points to each location?
Well, there's not a good access point to Toucan, but I mean, that's not where they're gonna be. They're gonna be. So all this does is amend the existing ordinance to do away with the language of an upland business physically being there. Maybe that's the best way to say that. Okay? Is there any other comments, council comments? Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adopt a resolution to amend the, bidding on the beach at the specific locations.
Okay, does this have a number?
No.
We need a number.
We should have.
2019-06.
What is it?
2019-06.
2019
And add that to your motion.
Resolution number 2019-06.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
We have a second. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
No.
Okay, number 2, parking for Highway 98. Needless to say, this has been, we've had some open houses, we've received some feedback in multiple forms from a variety of people. Today, if, Dina, I don't know, is Candy here?
She's not, she had a family emergency, so
Okay.
she's not in.
Is this for approval?
No, I think the idea was,
It
at the
says
last,
parking for 98, so I'm not really sure what the scope of that is.
I think at the last meeting, we talked about showing dimensions of the landscape area since it's small on this layout, so that was just to show you a blown up kind of visualization of what we're talking about for the
So it's
landscape.
sort of like another open house. All right, are there those here that have comments about the parking? Assuming you have seen, either you were part of an open house from earlier, or you've seen, or have more questions about what's being proposed here. So,
I do.
yeah, okay,
If I could have the ordinance
sure.
from you.
There you go, visual we are.
My concern has to do with handicap accessibility. There's a landscape area around each walkway. I understand that the walkways are ADA compliant, but that doesn't necessarily make the beach accessible. So if there is landscaping around each walkway, that means that a person who's handicapped, even if they make the closest parking spots handicapped, still has to cross the entire landscaped area to get to the walkway. If you're pushing a 250-pound man in a wheelchair, that's very difficult, even get across one car width, let alone several. So you might want to consider doing something more accessible around at least one or two of the walkways here and there. The other has to do with, once a person gets down or across the walkway and gets to the sand, then it's not possible to get across the sand. So although you've made an accessible, compliant walkway, you haven't made the beach or the water accessible. Most beaches manage that by putting a flexible mat, sometimes called a Moby mat, but there are other companies that make them, a flexible mat that goes across the sand so that you can move wheelchairs, walkers, etc. Across the sand to make it more accessible. So those are my requests. In terms of where you would put the handicap, the accessible handicap parking places, etc., keep in mind where the handicap restrooms would be. And another thought is that wherever the county line is that this one down here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If this is the access for emergency vehicles, you might want to have the people with disabilities might be more likely in need of emergency vehicle access, and so this end of the beach could provide that. There's some other emergency accesses as well.
Yeah, I think that's just a preliminary, and we're still in the process of considering everybody's comments and so forth. We never really had an accessible, easy area before, and I think we can work that in. In the packet that was handed out, there's actually probably more landscaping going on. We didn't have it at all before, and so it's going to be a much more attractive area. And the fact that we're only going an extra 15 feet out into the beach so that people can angle in and then back up and turn still off of the blacktop. Well, one thing we're trying to do is get the parking as far away in reason from the blacktop area, because most of the people, if you've been paying attention here during the holidays like 4th of July, I mean, a lot of the time I see people parking like we did park, open the door and it's nearly out over the blacktop. Well, when you've got a 5 or 6 year old that's wanting to get to the beach, it's just a wonder to me that we haven't had a fatality or two there. So that's part of the reason for doing this the way we're doing it. We've got plenty of beach to work with, and it is going to be, I hope we're gonna have better walk. Isn't that right, Ian? We're gonna have better material.
Yes.
It's gonna look better than it ever has. And just because it showed, what, 15,000, how many parking? Anyway, we're not looking at probably more parking than we had there to begin with. It's just gonna be in a safer way to do it. It's going to be, where we're showing on the drawing here, 7 or 8 spots in between, and then a landscaped area. The landscaped areas for sure will be where all the walkovers are, and then there'll be some in between that. So it's gonna be a much better, much more attractive area there than we've ever had on that yet.
Then can we address the ease of handicap maybe in some places getting there with the walkway?
Yes, yes,
Another
that's,
thing too, and several people mentioned, and I might have missed it, they mentioned turn lanes. There's no turn lanes.
no, there's not a turn lane. I think what people are referring to is that access lane.
Okay.
So it's really the shoulder of 98, but instead of parking in the shoulder, that area would be used
Okay.
to back in and out. But
Right.
it wouldn't be a turn lane.
But there's room for people to back into that area without getting on the blacktop. And then you've got access to 98 like we've always had.
I just wanted to say something about the Moby Mat. We had an organization, we still have it, Helping Hands. Before Hurricane Michael, we were selling hamburgers, hot dogs, and raising money to purchase a Moby Mat. We do have enough money to purchase one Moby Mat with a T at the end already. Still gonna raise money again once things are going. We had planned on placing it at the pier, because that was the most logical place at that time to put the first one. But we will have some Moby Mats.
What were they, wasn't it, the cost, was it in the $50,000?
No.
Okay.
No, they're not near that
Right.
expensive, yeah.
So
But
you
we're
have-
we're gonna continue to raise money once things settle down, so that we'll be able to place at least 4 along the beach.
So do you have to take those up every once in a while and when they
They
don't
do
get
need to
covered
be,
with
they do
sand?
need to be at least blown off,
Yeah, okay, they could be.
because the sand will blow
Right.
and
They
cover.
can be rolled up.
Yeah, they
if
can
need
be
to
rolled
break
up.
the beach, or if a hurricane blew
Yeah.
in.
Oh, okay.
They can be
They're-
rolled up.
they're-
If we're having a bad
And
tropical
they
storm.
can be removed and stored.
That's
Yeah.
cool, yeah.
Part of the cost has to do with how long it is, how much you're purchasing in terms of length, so,
Gotcha.
a shorter one costs less, longer one costs more.
At the time, CDC also was
Yes,
contributing, I don't
contributing
know
to
if
it.
it was matched, you know, if they were just giving,
They were going to
I
make
don't remember
a,
matching one.
they were going to make a matching,
Up to-
donation up to a certain amount. And so the handicap accessibility, we will have at least one to start with when the beaches are ready.
And Rex, to answer your question, so there is, that came up in the town hall, and there is one dune walkover that's actually a straight shot. I think it's closer to 386 to C Street. So that was the one that we were thinking about having the handicap parking immediately adjacent to it. And then that would be, as we discussed, probably the most easy to access.
It would be the easiest for wheelchairs and walkers to get across
Right,
on the
the
walkway
shortest,
itself.
yeah, the shortest.
And it is also probably the shortest Moby Mat that you'd be purchasing.
Right, so
So
we
it
could do
doesn't
that a
stand.
couple places,
Right.
3 places, 4. Okay.
So what are we, before I say anything, others, comments, yeah, come ahead.
The parking area, you've got it all angled. Is that gonna be grass or is it gonna be rock?
Correct.
All right, how are you gonna designate those spots? Are you gonna put a parking block in for each spot?
Yes, that's what we were considering, either the concrete curb parking stop, or maybe the timber ones, does that designate where cars need to.
Yeah, because if you don't have that, they're gonna scatter everywhere.
Right.
And also even just with a parking block, because I've done thousands of square yards of parking lots. If you don't have it lined off, they're gonna park, they're gonna really mess it up. So, I don't really know how you would do that other than to paint that occasionally, if you're gonna use grass. It's gonna be, people are not gonna be always smart enough,
Yeah.
and I hate to say that, but, you know, they're gonna cover 2 spots a lot of times. And when you angle parking, you're gonna double the amount of people that are on the beach. Because when you angle, if you straighten all those angles out, I think you'll find that you're gonna get, about twice as many spaces almost.
So we did look at the number, and we'll have 10 spaces, and then a landscapes area that takes up about 2 spaces, and then another 10, and then we have landscaping about 90 by 50 landscaped areas on either side of the dune walkovers. So by adding the landscaped areas, we're actually eliminating some of the space that was previously for parking. But that's why we're talking, if people have a concern over the number, we're in the conceptual
Well,
phase.
the number was actually less than what you could
Than
get
what you could get.
Go ahead, Bill.
before.
Like Dina just asked, I want clarification on the number of spaces. We were told at the fire station, at the open house, that there'd be considerably less parking than on the parallel parking. Well, I measured down on Reed Street, my standard size SUV takes up 2.5 parallel places. And they will call it 3 by the time you get wiggle room in order to park. So the one horizontal parking place will occupy 3 of the diagonals. And I don't understand new math, I now have less parking unless it is due to the landscaping.
Yeah, we're trying to break it up and not have just back-to-back parking.
My understanding is if you park bumper to bumper from 2 cans to 386, bumper to bumper, 401. Now you're angling, so you're getting 360. Do we really need 360 parking spots? Everybody's driving pickup trucks, SUVs, you're going to the beach, you got coolers, you got chairs, you got surfboards, everything else. If you lowered your spots between your landscaping from 10 to 8 or 7, you're gonna have a little bit of room. Everybody's driving big vehicles these days. You're gonna have sardine in there, and you're talking going to the beach with all this stuff, chairs, everything else. And the other thing I asked about at the 2 meetings, what are you gonna do to barricade off the beach? Nobody knew. As it was before the storm came, you had 4 walkways where you did not have walkovers that people went through the dunes to get to the beach. There was a total of 4 of them. If you don't put something between them walkways now, you got nothing but sand and brand new sea oats growing. Wherever somebody parks in between them, right down to the beach. You gotta consider doing something, bollards in the ground, nice ropes up or something, because otherwise people are just gonna head right to the beach and trash it.
I have a question.
Yeah,
The issue is and always has been safety. If you put this additional lane, you have the side of the shoulder of the road and then the lane, and then you're wanting to add angled parking. Why is that lane not enough? Because that's, should get you ample space off of the blacktop and not have to add diagonal parking.
Only 15 feet if you're DOT, and then we're adding another 15 feet to park the vehicle. So that lane we're talking about that DOT is putting there anyway is the area that you back out and turn into that lane, which is parallel with 98.
That's not answering my question.
Well, then you need to ask a better question.
The lane itself that's being added should be ample room to park a vehicle and get out safely. Why is the need for diagonal parking?
I don't agree with you. You can't in 15 feet angle park.
No angle parking, Jerry. Parallel parking on the side, on that extra lane. Why is that not sufficient?
The idea is if you're angled, you can look and have better line of sight to traffic both directions. So that was the reason for the angled parking. And we could do that. We could still go back to the parallel parking and have that lane, which would at least allow you to open and close your door, not in the travel way. But I think the line of sight, being able to back out and see both the oncoming direction of cars, the angle will improve that.
I've been here 20 years, I have yet to see a single vehicle back out onto 98. All of them have pulled forward from wherever they are. So I don't understand this need to back.
Okay.
other comments?
I was wondering too, if we're gonna have a lot of landscaping, are we gonna do irrigation? If we're gonna invest a lot in that?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay,
It will be.
okay.
But we're also, we're in discussion of using native plants, native vegetation to help minimize the amount of irrigation that's required. And DOT has offered to send a landscape architect because they are going to help to put back the trees that were there. So they've offered to also assist with identifying landscaping that would minimize the amount of water required.
We also have a very active garden club in this area, and over in the bigger active club.
No, and I thought, did I see you try to,
Well, I was just gonna say exactly what was already said.
Okay.
Which is native vegetation won't need as much.
gotcha. All right, other comments? All right, so, just for direction and people that are here, now that we've had this discussion, is it coming, are we like gonna put it on the next, we're just sort of gonna keep moving along here with more discussion, more comments, more
Yeah, we're just gonna develop it a little finer after all the discussion, I think that's the plan. And, we don't wanna have, we've gotta have places for people to park, but we don't want that to be a solid parking lot from Toucans to the county line.
From a council member, I guess, old school thinking, but it serves us well. I hate to see us plan something as if every summer day is the 4th of July, because it's not. Regardless of what we think we are, we're just not the 4th of July every day. Thank goodness. Thank goodness we are not.
Amen.
And I like the angle parking, but I, for one, am for less of it. There's more agenda items, we have to be careful now. Oh, yeah, just speak up.
Okay, so if we're talking less parking, I live right over there, okay? I go to the beach in that area. That's the area we go to. It is the point now, this last couple of years, we could barely get a parking spot. So you're talking already making it less than it was, when the locals couldn't even get a parking spot. And you're gonna make it less, these same people are gonna be coming down, and a lot of them are locals that are driving down and everything else. Some of them are tourists, which we need for our community. If you're talking making less, where are those cars gonna go if we're making it less? They're gonna go on the other side of 98 and take up all of that room on the other side of 98. They're gonna park down the streets wherever they can, because they've been doing that the last couple of years. We've been so busy, they're parking on the other side. We all drive golf carts. We are running out of places to park to go to the beach because all the cars are parking on the side streets now. So now you're talking about making it less and less.
Well, I'll answer you, as many of us or all of us do. I drive that road every day. And there are seldom, except on major holiday weekends, that there's not a place to park. That's all I say.
On the weekends, so that's not.
That's what I was gonna ask is, you know.
Even on the weekend.
Even on the weekend.
Even on the weekend.
If it's a pretty weekend, it's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Of course it's heavy. I mean, it's, but remember what our summer season is, remember the major holidays, I mean, that's the way I'm thinking. You can do away with the landscaping and put a parking space, and on 4th of July, somebody can say there's not enough parking. So, I mean, my thinking is, I'm willing to adjust to some. I don't know that I want that many.
I think it's going to be compromised.
Go
on
ahead,
both sides.
we got one more, go ahead, Tom.
Well, we started saying, let's bring Mexico Beach back to what it was. It's not Myrtle Beach, and I don't think we want Myrtle Beach. You know, we had the grandest entrance into any little town in the Panhandle with all the trees on it. I realize that we gotta do angle parking, but I think that we shouldn't try to cover the whole thing up and make it a parking lot and make it Panama City or Myrtle Beach. It's Mexico Beach. We're all here because we love that, and now we're trying to ruin it.
Well, are we not gonna put no parking signs on the opposite side?
No.
Okay.
Well, I got
Go
kind
ahead.
of concern, I drive a truck. Again, I think we need to make sure we got enough width in our parking to be able to back out. Cause even this one little gap, if you got a truck, you got some side by side, you gotta get out in the road before you can even have that. So safety again is another problem. Another thing, one of my concerns is with where the area you're talking about backing into. You got somebody turning on Fifth Street, just using that as an example. You got somebody going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
He sees a gap there. He's gonna go in that gap and go around it. He's looking at the beach, again, safety. we got kids that will feel that's safer by this little section, then, yeah, and that they would run out more. So safety again is my main concern.
Well, I think it's up to us to decide the width we wanna make these parking. I agree with you. Typical width areas are not wide enough
Right.
for this area. And that's up to us. Nina's gonna do that.
We're
Okay.
proposing 10 by 20, but we can make it bigger.
At least 12.
Okay.
I don't know, because you can't have the doors on 10 by 10.
I got a size 13, has to get out that door, so I have to open.
Well, here's what we're gonna do, we're taking notes, we're making comments, and we'll continue down that path till we decide that it's,
Good.
I don't, till it's the best we think we can deal with, and we'll keep doing that, so. Yeah,
Quick question, what is the angle, do you know, we're going, is it 45, 6?
I think we use 60 degrees.
Okay, because I was just looking at the LDR, and 60, you are gonna get a little more depth on your stall,
Mhm.
so it's 10 by 22.
Especially with that
What we're talking about.
access lane, so if you're.
you're
kind of
getting good at that
keeping
LDR thing.
I do, man. I just wanted, no one said what angle we're using, so we're probably going with 60.
All right, are we moving on? Thanks for your comments. All right, number 3, discussion with clerk. Everybody had the applicants, or the application? July 2nd is approaching. Are there any ones that anyone thinks we need to get in touch with and set up some interviews?
I got 2.
Okay.
Glenda, Wilson, and Kelly Lee. I think either one of those 2 may fall into place of what we need. They've had experience before.
All right,
So what do we have, 4 total?
yeah.
Who's gonna interview these people?
We are at a public meeting. Just like today, they're gonna be sitting somewhere in here and we're gonna interview them.
Feel sorry.
Bobby, what were your 2 names again?
Kelly Lee, Kelli. And Glenda, I guess it's Worsom, WRSHAM.
Is that the one from Primax?
Yeah, she's from Primax,
Okay, all right, I got that.
And Kelly is from Gaston, Alabama.
Yeah, there was a concern. Oh, that's the line. Where's Kev? Let me borrow that. Well, that's mine anyway. What do you do?
No, he ain't know that, he goes.
That was the last one that.
Yeah, well, and the reason I raised that, when I was reviewing that, I found it, I don't know, uncomfortable, but I was, on her application, she said, she checked yes, that she'd been dismissed or asked to resign. And if you check yes, you provide some details, and she just left all that blank. And she also said, if you have left the job by mutual agreement following allegations of misconduct, she checks yes, and again, she provided no details.
Which one? Yeah.
Now, my experience tells me that I need to know more about that.
Agent said no.
Well, it says no. Have you left your job?
Okay, no.
No.
Stand correct. What happened?
I have one comment on that one. They just saw this one this morning.
the reference of Ben Vance, he's our CPA and auditor, and I think that's a good thing. So that's just
Okay,
something I
stand
know.
corrected, I looked at that wrong. All right, well,
And which one is that, Al?
Kelly Lee is one that Jerry took my file on, but I'm gonna get back to you. And the other one was, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name, but we'll say it, Wusham. That's,
Good question.
I also like Jenny Myrick. I'd like to put her name in that list. We're gonna interview. Everybody's got an accounting degree, I think merits talking to you, in my opinion.
Why don't we just interview all four?
Yeah, Bill, what's your question?
You gotta conduct the interviews, in an executive closed session.
No?
No, it'll be a,
Well, I think you probably should, you get more
You
candid answers.
you don't do that. I can tell you, I've been to Tallahassee about that. You don't do that.
Okay.
Mr. Attorney?
I agree.
It is a good idea, though.
All right, so, but thank you. I thought that too,
Just like, you know, get more candid
but it didn't work
conversation.
out too well.
Okay.
Well, we really just sort of need a consensus. We need someone to call and set them up, and I guess, is there anyone here who wants to volunteer to do that? To call these folks and set up, or first of all, let's agree on the name. We have Kelly and Glenda. Is anyone besides me interested in Jenny, or is that?
No, I am too.
Okay, so we got three.
Why don't we just let Adrian call?
No, one of us ought to call. Right, why don't you call? That'd be good.
Uh,
You don't have anything to do.
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Why can't Adrian call?
Because he shouldn't.
He
He
just
shouldn't
wanted
call.
to tell
The
him.
clerk works for us. Somebody at this table needs to call.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I agree.
I'll call. Okay, I'll call, but as a certain time we need to set up.
Well,
And we
You
know
know-
we do, we need to set up.
I think we have to be flexible like they do. I would prefer to do them all in one day now.
Right.
Let's don't start at 8 o'clock, okay?
You didn't bring numbers.
That's right. I didn't have time.
Okay.
All right, so, I'll just put it this way. Let's look at, what is today, Monday? Let's look at next week. Is there a day that we know we shouldn't set them up for?
Tuesday.
I know, well,
Calendar.
I'm okay if they can come Friday, or they can come I'll just make it available, for me. I'm gonna be.
You gotta give them a little time too.
I would think a couple of them are close enough, Actogus and, Carabel. Now, Gaston's the other way, so probably going to be closer to a weekend, either Monday or Friday, for her.
Well, why don't we shoot for Friday?
This Friday?
Why don't we shoot for Friday? Yeah, we need,
We need to get it done.
We need to move on with something.
So Friday is
Let's
actually.
shoot for Friday, and then you just send the,
That's the 21st, somebody got a calendar around.
21st.
Do what?
It's the 21st.
You also
I
have,
will call after I leave here and get back.
yeah, just send, now, send that information through Adrian. Don't send,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta post it and get it out.
You gotta, yeah, send that through to Adrian, and then Adrian to us, instead of you to us, because we don't really need to respond.
What time we wanna try to do that Friday?
Afternoon.
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I tell mine to pick you up. I tell them you ain't got to do anything, get up. I don't know.
Bring the donut.
About 10 o'clock.
Well, folks that are traveling, some of them are not very far, but I think, why don't you see what they can do?
Give it to you.
And we'll just have to we'll have to say, yeah, we can be here or we can't be here. That's really the bottom line. And when you're setting up something for people to come, especially none of those are far away.
You do have the option also, if anyone's schedule from the applicants kind of requires that maybe they have to call in, you can do a phone interview. I don't know if that's something you want to entertain. but-
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna, Bobby, you're gonna do the 3, we're gonna, Friday, and if Friday doesn't work, you're gonna see if Monday works.
Right.
Is that good with everybody? Good. We're on banker's hours around here with Jerry, so you got to be, it's gotta be mid-morning or late.
I gotta get my run in.
I have one question. What do you need from me for Friday? What would you like me to have ready and provide?
The only thing for me, and I probably know it, but I can't remember, I wanna know the kind of software we use, I wanna know the type of, programming skills from a computer standpoint, because as you know, I'm flip phoning it, so I don't know a lot about that. So maybe you recently did interviews with Lynn Haven, I believe, Parker.
He's not gonna be able to sit in?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be there.
Well, so he can answer all those questions.
Well, but,
We'd rather them.
okay, we're doing the high.
I
You gotta
know.
remember that, we're doing the
We're
high.
listening a lot.
Well, I don't.
I'll try and get their questions too.
Make up a list of the things that are pertinent, especially in the computer line, that someone would be stepping into to take over this job. Okay. And credits and debits, surely they can figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions? And Bob, the sooner we get that, obviously, the better for all
I'll
of us.
be on time I leave.
I got you.
We hurry to close this meeting up.
I know, we're trying, we're moving on. Dina? There you took one, you did it. You took it.
In fact, Jerry, not me.
If you got the agenda, I'll borrow their turn, thank you. Number 4.
So number 4 is we talked through this with FEMA, for our dredging, we've had a standby barge throughout dredging so that if, the dredge hits debris, the barge can come in and remove the debris. About 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we actually lost the barge we had on standby through Kaiser Kane. So we got an estimate or a quote from, Crowder Gulf to provide it, and by doing that, they agreed to eliminate downtime. So if they hit debris, they're providing the barge, they won't charge us the downtime for the dredge, which we've been previously being charged, it's been adding up. So when we talked to FEMA about doing a task order to allow them to do the standby barge, the cleanest way to do that, they said, would be, because we awarded dredging to them and not debris, there really wasn't a standby barge or debris removal as part of that scope. So to keep it compatible with FEMA reimbursement, we think the cleanest way to do that would be to have 2 awards for debris removal. So Crowder Gulf bid, and they scored very well on the debris removal. So we could award them a contract for debris removal and then issue a task order specific to providing that standby barge. So that's what the award is. I think Nick, we cleared it with Nick as well, and that's not atypical for a community to have more than one.
Actually, I don't know, I don't have a background on this, so I'm learning as we go.
But I think Tanya talked to you and you'd said that that's not atypical, that you would award maybe 2 contractors on standby for debris removal.
I did not have that conversation with Tanya. What would be not unusual is if we had 6 months ago awarded 2. I'm just listening.
Mm-hmm. So again, we did talk to FEMA about it. They thought this would be the cleanest way to do it, rather than trying to add something in that was not in their original bid scope for dredging.
Let me ask a question since I haven't talked to FEMA. What looks, what I'm unsure about on this isn't just a contract designed to do this one set of work for a set of money. It's a 5-year on-call contract to have another full-scale debris company ready to go, dated today. Is that what FEMA suggested to do? It
Well,
seems
the-
like it's
the
more than what we
contract-
need.
Yeah, the contract is the same as what, I mean, we'd have to use the contract that was bid to make it FEMA reimbursable. That's what was competitive bid. So it is that same general contract, 5-year.
Right.
Talking to Atkins also, maybe they were the ones that I remember saying that that's not atypical that you have more than one contractor for the same work. And even our contract, the way it was written, says that we're allowed to do that. And we can even ask them, each one for pricing on different portions of work and compare, so.
Yeah, but having two contractors is not unusual. Bay County has 2 or 3 that they hired through this process. I'm just kind of digesting as we go, because I don't know, didn't know about this ahead of time. It's just, if FEMA said to do this, and it's been 6 or 7 months since the initial award, that's the most important thing. We want them happy.
Right, and we won't have any lost time,
Right,
that's important.
so there's this, yeah, so FEMA thought this was the cleanest way to do it when we talked with them, and Atkins also thought this would be the best way.
Should we date the contract back at the time of the original RFP, or should we date it now?
I don't know.
Okay.
We can ask that question.
Maybe we should find that out. I mean, it's a minor detail, but
Okay.
it does create the impression that it's a brand new hiring without going through the process as opposed to relying on the prior RFP.
Okay.
So we have to vote on this?
So it's a lot of paperwork. What you have is a generic contract that we would use to do task orders under when there are problems. There's also a task order behind the contract for the specific services we need. That's for $540,000.
Yes, do you want to jump into that?
Well, that's the overall purpose of what we're doing. This isn't really designed to get a competing contractor for the
Right.
next disaster. It's really designed to cover those services.
But under this, you would be able to choose for the next one.
You could, yes.
What's he gonna do again?
So this Carter Gulf bid on both the debris removal and our dredging project. We need a standby barge to go with the dredge to remove debris as they encounter it.
Why did the one leave?
I don't know,
Not enough work now.
that's what I heard. They gave us a unit, a daily rate to provide it
Well,
and
aren't
then
we putting the
pulled out.
barge back in there today to pick up the debris?
I'm sorry?
Aren't we putting a Mark Garrison barge back in there today to pick up debris?
Probably, but I think this would be a separate kind of activity. We had talked about that, but I think they want someone on standby with them to remove debris where they are encountering it, not just a blanket removal of debris in the canal, but that may be an option.
I had a question for you, Dean.
Mhm.
Was Kaiser Kane under contract?
Yes.
Just a minute, before we get to. Then I don't understand what this guy's gonna do. Help me understand what this contract, we're getting a Crowder Gulf barge and grabbing hook, a debris removal barge. And he's gonna walk in front of the dredge.
He will be on standby to the dredge,
Okay, we just had one guy leave because there wasn't enough work.
yes.
So now we need to hire somebody.
Yes, Crowder Gulf has given us a daily rate to provide a standby barge to remove debris if encountered during dredging. And they also agreed if we hire them, their barge to do that, we don't pay their downtime. If they hit debris right now, we're paying by the hour.
Well, if we clean the canal, if we were concentrated on cleaning the dang canal out to start with, we wouldn't, if we had done that like I've been told we have done, then we got a guy leaving because there's not enough work. Now we're paying the same dredge company another contract to put another dredge, another barge in ahead of him. And we're also putting Mark Garrison's barge and debris removal equipment in there. It just seems to me that we got plenty of people doing it if they do it. I mean, I haven't been down there monitoring what they do, but I've been down there to see, and I took y'all down there to show you what I saw in an area less than the size of this table. So what are we paying Mark Garrison?
So we'll be having him go back and do another pass.
Okay, and that's FEMA reimbursement.
That's being reimbursable.
Well, I don't see any reason to pay our dredge company to put a standby barge in our canal if we've got a debris barge that we're paying through FEMA, and if they clean the debris out and they do a good job of it, why would we need this? Why do we need this 38-page contract? I'm trying to understand why we need it.
What you're saying, if he runs into trouble, he's gotta have a barge to come get him out of trouble.
That stays with the dredge.
He couldn't get Garrison to come there and do that, Garrison's somewhere else.
But the mayor's point is, if it was dredged, then it should be clean.
Well, but they said a lot of stuff washes back in, comes back in.
The reality that we've been observing since dredging began is they're hitting debris, and they're charging us by the hour for that downtime. I agree, and as we discussed, we'll have Mark Harrison make another pass, but they are hitting debris, and I think some of it's buried debris. So I don't know if the issue is that it's buried and the Mark's barge isn't finding it, or if it just takes several passes to get all of it, or that it's floating in and we're still encountering it. It could be all of those.
Well, from a money standpoint, to activate this contract,
I am not sure that Mark, and I wasn't discussing this with Mark, that's debris, someone else is handling that, but my impression was it would be worth it for Mark to mobilize, come back in and do another full pass. I am not sure, based on the fact that he's pulled out, it's worth it for him to come and have a standby barge throughout the remainder of dredging, because it's not just, we still have several weeks of dredging to complete. I don't know if Mark is willing to stay for the next few weeks and be on standby for the dredging activity. But if that's your direction, we can go back and ask.
it's my opinion, I'm not giving direction, I'm just giving my opinion that if we have had two passes, supposedly two passes, we had a standby barge that sat here and watched the guy dredge and went over and picked it up, and he had evidently, in somebody's opinion, not enough debris to merit the way he was being paid. And then I'll show y'all some stuff that has come out of that canal supposedly after two passes. Obviously not things that are gonna float in with the tide. Seems like we're just paying, money doesn't fix that. What fixes it is people out there, somebody watching what they do, how they do, and how they dig it, and make sure they get the stuff out of there. That's what fixes it, not money. And I feel like this is, and that all looks good, but hell, if the debris still there, then it's still there. It's obviously still there.
Is this all debris from the storm? Could we be finding some debris that was there before the storm that we just never dredged?
It's debris from the storm.
Yeah.
But and again, it may be that we still need a standby barge in addition to.
Well, I'm not, again, I'm only saying, for me, I'd rather, I wish Mark Garrison was sitting in this room, or somebody, somebody, that, so I understand the mechanics of what we're doing with when they say we made two passes. Remember, I used this example earlier, the canal's as wide as this room. Are we making a pass the width of this table? Are we making a path as wide as this room? That's what I want to know.
I know the debris was supposed to be the entire width of the canal.
Which is a private owned, would it?
No.
There's no private owners, that canal's all ours.
Okay.
The water's ours, the debris ours, the spoil's ours. Nobody owns that but the city.
And my understanding was, when we went previously, previous two passes, the barge, Mark's barge, went as close as they felt was safe to existing seawalls and structures. But I think there's still debris along the edges.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
Is this contract FEMA?
yes,
But we would still have to pay
5%.
5%.
There's also a hydro seeding task in this.
Yes.
And just kind of doing some rough math, at $3,500 a day for the dredge, if we had them out there for 2 months, let's say, this is still more than half this cost is the hydro seeding. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I think I assumed another 60 days just to be safe in your task order, the not to exceed, based on the 3,500 per day, for the standby barge. And the other portion of this is the hydro seeding for the banks of all of the waterways that we've removed debris that are disturbed. That's something that has been brought up. We need to get it stabilized. Army Corps has brought that up on occasion, that we still have bare dirt. So we asked actually for more than one price for hydro seeding. Crowder Gulf gave a cheaper one, and that was also a part of the debris removal, not dredging project. But that's what this task order includes, is going back and it's a not to exceed, they would have to actually do the work to get this, but the not to exceed assumes 50 feet wide throughout all of the waterways that we've cleaned debris to stabilize.
So that's new work. It's not arguably the duplication of something that's already happened.
No, it has not been done. But unfortunately, we can't just give that to Crowder Gulf under their current dredge contract, because it's not included in that. It is included in the scope of work for debris. So the unit cost they
let
gave
me
us.
ask you, what were we paying Crowder Gulf on the standby? What were we paying Mark Garrison on the standby day?
I think his was 1,650 per day, but when you add in the downtime for Crowder Gulf at $650 an hour, I think it evens out pretty close to the.
Downtime meaning that their cutter head picked up something, clogged the head or clogged the pipe, and they had to stop and clean it
And they stop and they are waiting while Mark's barge comes and removes whatever was in the way.
And if you need, and if you don't.
I think just knowing how much downtime we've had, I think what 3,500 per day probably is offset by not having to pay the downtime.
I would hope so.
Mhm.
Okay, Count, is there a recommendation?
I have a recommendation, and he's local, you know, Scott Brock. He has plenty of insight on how to do the dredging.
We know Scott.
Yes. And I know that he has tried to do the standby, but it was denied because of his quote. And it was way less than the standby barge for Crowder Gulf.
Okay.
Because it needs to be excavated before you do the dredge. Because you have the layer of debris, and then you have the layer of sand.
Who are you?
I'm his office manager.
Scott Brock.
Yes.
Okay.
So it sounds like
So I am familiar with it.
to take that type of approach, we'd have to initiate a new procurement process. Because on this, the simpler thing, which would have been what I would have suggested, is just to do a change order to the current Crowder Gulf contract. But FEMA said, don't do that.
Right.
Look back to what you did in December when you hired on your debris hauling contract, rely on those bids, those proposals, and so they're pointing us back to that procurement.
Because the scope that was advertised and bid, right, does not allow that.
So if we were to do just a contract with a brand new company that we don't have
We would
anything
need
with
to-
right now, I'm sure FEMA would say, start over.
Competitively bid it, yes, correct.
And was it an open bid, how
Yes.
Crowder Gulf got it? Was it on the Mexico Beach website?
Yes.
It was, when was it posted?
December.
And when was it taken down?
It was
Yeah.
posted in November, we did our selection in December, we probably had, maybe 8 or 10 companies apply.
Okay, so what is what happens if we take this? What happens?
If they hit debris, we don't have a clear direction on who can get in and clean it up.
So things just stop.
But isn't Mark coming in there?
Yeah.
He's just not gonna work, he's not gonna work he's not gonna work in unison with the dredge.
Correct.
Okay, question, if it hit debris, can they work around it, mark that off, and when they get enough debris, they find it, come back and pick it up?
We could do that.
Instead of just sitting and waiting?
I could take that back to Carter Gulf and ask.
Yeah.
So I think we need to table it then,
Okay.
till we get some more answers, Mayor.
I don't know, I'm just not convinced that what we're doing is the canal. And that's my goal. I've just seen them, they say we've been twice, we've been dredging, we got all this downtime. I can't imagine a company the size of Crowder Gulf, almost a national company, when you get into a disaster situation, as if it's gonna be just a slick bottom there. That bothers me. As if there's just this pristine dredge and no problems, and we've got, $650 an hour for downtime. And maybe that's shame on us for not checking, or I don't know, that just, I'd like to table it myself, personally.
Me too.
I'd like to see and the reason I would only vote for table, I want to know what Mark Garrison is gonna do when he says he's gonna make another pass that is FEMA approved. What is he gonna do that is gonna also help that dredge? Is anything he'll do in making another pass help the dredge in terms of debris? I don't know how the barge operators scope the bottom of that with their, I don't know how they do that.
Okay.
Now, to me, that's the key question, is the Mark Garrison dredge or debris barge? But if we're just sitting there waiting on that dredge to hit something, I mean, I see some hiccup with that. I believe you could hit something, I don't know, that's a lot of money to give those folks to do what I think Mark could do. But maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I'd like to know that.
Is this his third pass, Mayor?
Well, that's what they said.
Well, can't he, I mean, usually if you're in business, you do 3 passes, you ought to guarantee it's gonna be clean.
Well, and he did do sonar after, I think, the second pass. He did sonar for where he'd been, but, I don't know if the water's dark, you couldn't tell a lot from that.
Yeah, I don't know, I've never done it, but I know that we're putting a lot of money to get a canal clean.
That's not big.
I mean, I don't think of that body of water as something people in that business ought to have a problem with.
And then, on the hydro seeding, what is our direction there?
I don't know, Nick confused me.
Well, my point was just that this expenditure, we'd be authorizing at least half of it's for the hydro seeding. So that's a separate issue that needs to be accomplished sometime by somebody.
Yes.
But it's gotta be part of this?
Well, it needs to be either a part of Crowder Gulf or, I believe, Kaiser Kane. Regardless, it was in that scope for debris removal, along the ditches, was bank stabilization, and that has not been done yet. Kaiser Kane, I think, has a higher unit cost for that. But it's something we do need to do.
I know. But to do that, based on the way it's written, we gotta do the whole thing.
Okay, because we don't have, yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, if this is agreeable, important, very important to get clarification of how this is gonna work and how we're gonna get our canal plan. I'm willing to get the powers that be in this room again and let's talk about it.
And,
Just call a special meeting,
and if we need to bring KK Storm or.
whatever we need to bring, so that there's a little more comfort, I think, at least for me, and I think others. Because again, getting the canal clean is the whole goal. Rex made a good point, after 2 passes, how many passes do we need? And I think that's a valid, before we start just signing things and, because it's FEMA approved, I mean, I'm at the point of not buying that anymore. Just because it's, FEMA pays for it, that's important, but it's not the reason that I wanna do it, I wanna get the canal clean.
We still got the 5% to think about that.
That's right. So is that okay with everyone, that we just let's get a little more clarification of who's gonna do what and how's it gonna work and before we go sign that, and then we'll just rely on somebody telling Adrian, hey, we got a special meeting at whatever time and whoever can get here. Fair enough? Okay. All right, continue on. Number 5.
Number 5, this is what we had talked about last week about allowing Royal American to continue with our phase 2 sewer repairs through a change order rather than, putting phase 2 out for bid. We reached out to FEMA directly on this to confirm that they would be comfortable with this approach. We don't have an answer as of yet, but we do know what we've been told previously is as long as the scope of work was covered in the original bid and you have your unit costs, which we do, it should be FEMA reimbursable. So this would allow us to continue with phase 2. The additional amount, phase 2 would be $298,369.08.
And what is the change order?
It's to allow Royal American to continue working and go straight into our phase 2 sewer repairs, which is 24th Street East, basically the east side of town.
So they're going out for another bid.
Did we turn on 24th West?
Yes, last week. Now, property owners are still asked to come to the city to request water and sewer for everything on that side. But yes, it is live.
Yeah, we sort of circled the wagons on this one at the last meeting, but there was a general consensus that this was an excellent move given what has happened with these folks and the way they've handled our other repairs, and I would be in favor of doing this. Because we gotta get all that done.
You need a motion?
Yes, this would require a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to approve Royal American to continue to proceed into phase 2 of the sewer repair for the amount of $298,396.08.
Second.
The amount was
$369.
$369.
You said 96.
and 8 cents.
369?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Big amount of
for the amount of $298,369.08.
Gina, can you confirm that we've gotten comfort that this will be reimbursable despite being a large increase to the contract spend?
So that's what I was saying. FEMA, we specifically brought this up to FEMA. They have all the documentation that they have asked for to review it. We were told as long as the scope and the unit pricing was in the first bid, and it is, there is nothing in phase 2 that is not a unit cost and a part of the scope for phase 1. It's just expanding the amount of work to be done. I do not have a definite answer from FEMA as yet, but I think based on what they said, it should qualify. So I don't know if we could approve the change order and not issue notice to proceed on phase 2 until we get that answer. I'm not sure what the best way to go about it, to get the 100% okay from FEMA. But we have a good, we are meeting the requirements based on what they told us.
How much time do we have between when they're ready to activate phase 2?
We have time. I think we have a few weeks, because remember, we did change order to go ahead on the first phase. Now that they've got all the mains up and running, to go in and clean and inspect the service lines. So they still have work to do.
Well, I think, well, I would be in favor of the motion, knowing that it's not gonna happen tomorrow.
Right.
That it's sitting there, and if something, I mean, you know, we don't have to sign it, I don't have to do anything to activate, just say, hey, we're waiting, based on FEMA's,
Yeah.
you know, maybe we can get something from them that makes us feel more comfortable.
You could approve it now, and you could hold off.
Yeah, hold
sign
off
this
on,
next week
yeah,
or something.
on any CO, I mean, or notice of commencement,
Right. Just checking, make sure, no, we haven't received anything yet, so.
okay? So, if we do get the vote, we'll just know that it's not something that's gonna get signed until we do more legwork with things. But
Do
we
we have to add that to the motion?
Contingent on FEMA approval.
There we go.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do
Contingent
that,
on-
contingent on, sure, you can do that, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, did we get a second? Yeah, you said.
We had 2 seconds.
We had 2 seconds, okay. Is there discussion? Okay. All right, call the roll.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Okay, Dean, so that's gonna go back in y'all's ballpark with FEMA, with the FEMA thing, okay. All right, moving on.
Alright, the last one is another one we talked about in the last meeting. It's a change order for North Florida Construction for the emergency berm. We did talk to FEMA about this and got a straight answer. They said, yes, that sounds like it falls within the scope of work and should not be a problem. What this is proposing, the way that project was bid, we are going to go back and plant, even though we had our volunteer event, there's still a lot more berm that needs to be planted. That was a part of North Florida's bid to do the plantings throughout the emergency berm. However, they had to reach out to a nursery and they actually planted those plants specific to this project. The plants won't be ready to plant and mature until July. However, we already have several dunes that are constructed, and the concern is, especially where they're working now in the critically eroded section of beach, that they will erode before they get planted, because the way the contractor intended to do this was in July, when the plants are ready, to come out and plant the entire length of beach all at once. This would allow us to go ahead and plant the sections that are done until we get the rest of the plants in July that would allow us to do all of it at once. So the change order is due to the fact that those plants aren't ready or mature yet, so we are basically taking someone else's plants that are more mature and bigger. There's a higher cost to that. That being said, this does not show a total change in contract price. The increase for those plants is $13,200. The project has built-in contingency, so we would not be increasing the overall contract amount. We would just be approving to use some of the contingency to allow us to plant what is already constructed and ready. So we would still have, even if we approve this, we would still have $161,800 built into the contract for remaining contingency. And FEMA did feel like, when we talked to them, this would be a valid change order and would be reimbursable as part of the project.
So do we have to approve it as a change order, even though there's no money?
Yes, because we're changing the scope and you're approving that we can use the
Spending the
contingency.
contingency.
At the end of the project, whatever contingency is left, we will do a reductive change order and close the contract. So it does. And we may actually, the total cost may not translate to $13,200 because we did plant about 20,000 sea oats with our volunteer project. And at the end, that's gonna be taken out of this scope of work as well. So we'll have a savings at the end.
Okay. All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
You do.
No, you messed up the last one. See if you can do better next time.
I think, approve a change order for, North Florida Construction plant section of dunes that are ready now instead of one section for $13,200.
Second.
You didn't call him on that, he fouled that one.
Well, we're gonna keep trying. We're not buying
We
it.
got a motion, and a second. Is there any questions? Is there any opposition? I've got the record reflecting, vote 5-0. All right, it's not a miscellaneous, but I've got one. And it's, I'm gonna bring it up today because I wanna stop the music. I have, as all of this table has, received a lot of information about ordinance 709. I was the one that sort of sponsored that. And Nick was gonna put some time and energy into redoing that, and I want this table to know that I have decided that the negativity from that ordinance is not something that I want to pursue anymore. I wholeheartedly think that ordinance 709 has merit the way it's amended, but it doesn't, the negativity far outweighs what will be gained in the 16 or 17 months that ordinance would have been in effect. And we all know, we've been part of government enough, or part of Mexico Beach enough, people are gonna read what they wanna read, they're not gonna pay attention to what it actually says, they're gonna, it's truly unbelievable the amount of reasons that have been found that won't work, but that's not why I'm here, that's why I wanna bring it, I just want Nick to know, and for me, I'm not interested in changing ordinance 709. Now, that doesn't mean somebody else might not be, but I'm not. We've got too many things to accomplish and be worried with the negativity of that. So,
Some people may not know what 709
well, 709 is our big ordinance.
Well, I know.
I figured everybody knows that.
Well, I do.
Well, and everybody in this room does.
I voted against it.
Okay.
Way to
Good.
go.
So, is there any other comments about it? Unless somebody else wants to pursue that, I don't want it to be that our town doesn't need to be divided like that. It's too much. It's not worth it. So, any other comments?
Well, my main concern about it was trying to get workers in to try to get this done. It wasn't about the renting of RVs or nothing else. I do take offense at some people thinking that just because you have RV, that you don't have trailer traffic coming in. I take offense to that since I've been RV 40 years. But
trailers are something else.
But I agree. I agree with you, Al. I think it's too much controversy. We got too much we need to do to rebuild the city. But I still am gonna be working, trying to get workers good workers to redo our city.
So, for me, unless you get more direction,
Do nothing.
X that off. All right, so anybody else?
I got one more question. If by some chance of miracle I can get all three of these people here for interviews, how much time do we want to give in between? 2 hours? Hour?
No, 45 minutes is the most. You talking about to allow for the interview?
If I can get all three of them in here, what time limit should I set for them to be here?
So much time, 15 minutes in between.
45 minutes max for an interview, in my opinion. 45 minutes total maximum. You can't, if you don't know in 45 minutes, you got.
Just tell them to come prepared.
And then.
And we're not paying for you traveling and nothing else?
No.
Okay.
Now, Adrian, I'm glad you mentioned that. Also, just for, on the sheet I asked you about, also put the job description, give us, I know you gave it to us, but give us the job description, give us the salary range, give us the even though you'll be there, I don't want to turn to you and ask you every question that needs to be, that we think we need to know, but the computer skill part of that now is critical. Who will you, anything that you would, and from some of the questions that when you helped Parker out, what were you looking for? You obviously have more knowledge of that. other than the people part of it, that's us at the table. But the technical part of that, give us I guess you'd call it a little cheat sheet, if you would. And then, again, Bobby, you need to go through him to contact us. Okay? All right, last call.
Mayor Kathy, I've got a comment, sir.
Yeah.
My name's Walter Cole. I own TCT. I am also a resident of Mexico Beach. I got a strange call from Ms. Castro on Friday night at 5:59 p.m. She stated she was going to go ahead and pull my permitting abilities in Mexico Beach. And I've never met Ms. Castro ever. Haven't had any violations, passed 100% of all of my inspections in Mexico Beach. One, I'm wondering why she's calling me after hours. I would certainly think that would be a business matter. And two, I wonder why she's trying to pull my rights to pull permits in this town.
Didn't you ask her?
She wouldn't give me an answer. She said that she's got many people that are unhappy with the services that I've provided, and I asked her to provide me with names, and she refused to do so.
Who are you?
My name is Walter Cole.
Walter
I'm the owner
Cole.
of the Cole Team Inc.
And what's your company name?
The Cole Team Inc. I have.
Well, Mr. Cole, I can speak for me, I have no earthly idea.
Well, sir, I brought people who do, people who I've worked with. Jerry, I've worked with him personally.
I know it. To try to answer for her, I don't think we're not in a position to do that. She's one made the call, she's one needs to she needs to be here to tell us, or at least to answer your concerns. And I share them, quite frankly, but I don't know anything about the thing, so I don't know that. I think what needs to happen is that you and her need to sit down and find out and get those answers. And then it would come here.
Well, I wasn't comfortable with the way that she approached me after normal business hours, and according to the Mexico Beach website, she works directly for the council. So I thought it was in my best interest to bring this into a public forum in front of the council and have people here who I've done work for let you know the type of work that I do and what I've done for the community. Again, I'm not just a contractor here. I also live in Mexico Beach.
I understand, and I think that would, if our administrator were sitting here, I would totally agree with you, but everything that we're gonna do is, I mean, it's not a popularity contest. This is, I mean, we all like you or don't like you, or I mean, we don't know anything about I'm assuming that, does anyone else know anything about this gentleman? No, but I mean, you know anything about the call?
No, I don't know.
Well, that's what this is about. It's not whether or not you're a good guy or not, it's a matter, it's a business call.
Here's where she made the call. I think everybody will recognize that that's her phone number. That's a screenshot of my phone at 5:59.
Well, I would think that you would make a point to sit down with her and understand, and then come to us and tell us, or she could, if she were here, tell us. That's all I know to say.
I can tell you why the call was probably after hours. She's here almost every night, returning phone calls and making phone calls after we close, so.
Well, after hours that's not really if permits are being pulled and she didn't give an answer according to this gentleman, then, I think we all would think that he would be due an answer to that. So, I think she's the one that's gotta give it. Okay?
Okay. Until she gives me that answer, then I will certainly have the right to pull permits, correct?
We don't make that decision.
Who makes that decision?
The building department. Have you talked to the building department?
I've never had any reason to. I haven't filed any, or failed any inspections or had any violations.
I think that
have reason to.
do we know anything about Tanya's
I would think
emergency?
the building department would
Yes.
know.
We do. Dave fell down the stairs and broke his ankle. She was in the emergency room.
Who did?
Her husband.
Oh, no.
That's why she's in yours.
I'm sorry, give us your company name again.
The Colt Team Incorporated.
TCT.
And I've got families here that I've done business with that would be happy to tell you the quality and the level of work that we do. Again.
We understand. I fully understand. I'm not trying to be short with that. The issue is that you've been told that you are not allowed to pull permits. by an employee of this city, and none of us at this table can answer to that.
I would say she should maybe be in this afternoon. I mean,
She'll be in as soon as she's.
yeah.
And I think that would be a priority for you to have to, find time to sit down and tell you what's going on,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
And I'll ask some
Is
questions.
is there, last call again, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay,
Second, third.
all right, and then we're sitting by on the contract on some direction of what to go.
You gotta be
When,
fast.
where to go.